Good evening, everyone. I am Joseph D. Pasquale, the chairman of this Joint Finance Committee, and it is past 7 o'clock. The meeting on the agenda is scheduled to begin at 7. After the Pledge of Allegiance, I would like Paul Silva to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then he can stay at the podium and participate in the introduction.
What do you say, Mr. Chairman? Would everyone please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Actually, Mr. Silva, what we should do is we should have introductions here, then we'll go back to you, and then you can introduce.
Whatever you would like.
I think that would work best. Why don't we do two things differently? We will have an introduction, then we will have the election of officers, and then, Mr. Silva, you can have the floor. How's that?
Your meeting.
Thank you. Starting at my right, your left, all the way over. Please, everyone, introduce yourself.
Marge McBride, Treasurer, Bristol Warren Regional School Committee.
Pauline Silva, Director of Administration and Finance, Bristol Warren Regional School District.
Mario Andrew, Superintendent of Schools.
I'm Lou Cirillo. I'm representing Stephen Contenti, the Bristol Town Administrator.
Carrie Cronin, I'm Vice President of the Warren Town Council.
Steve Thompson, Warren Town Council.
Me again, Joseph D. Pasquale, Chairman of the Joint Finance Committee, as well as President of the Warren Town Council.
Ian Tiska, Bristol Town Council.
Tim Sweeney, Bristol Town Council.
Mary Carruthers, Bristol Town Council.
Edward P. Stewart Jr., Bristol Town Council.
Nathan Caldera, Bristol Town Council.
Mr. Silva. Well, I thought you'd introduce yourself.
Sorry. I'm Paul Silver. I'm the chairman of the school committee.
Thank you. And we will have the election of the officers because that person would be either allowing me to, finish this meeting or taking over, depending on how this body votes. So, is there a motion for the chairman of the Joint Finance Committee? A nomination, I should say.
I'd like to nominate Andy Tiska.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome aboard.
Well, I appreciate that, Joe. Appreciate that. Everyone and I look forward to the opportunity to serve in this committee. And thank you very much. And I would appreciate your support throughout this meeting, Mr. Pasquale. So I'd like to, again, offer Chairman Silva the opportunity to speak.
What I really want, first off,
We did this on purpose.
oh yeah, absolutely. I have no clue what happened. Anyway, listen, what I would do is, by the way, congratulations to this guy on being appointed chair of this committee. I don't know really whether it should be congratulations or condolences. You'll have to check with Mr.
time you give to listen to us with our presentation, and hopefully the time that you had to spend looking at all of the celebrations that are out front before you came in here. That's something new that our superintendent decided he wanted to do this year, and to show you some of the successes that we've had. I want to take the time as well to ask you to please remember a few things. Mr. Kamara will tell me I'm just preaching for things that I said for years, and Mary will probably say the same thing, but I want to remind each and every one of you that although you have another seat that you sit in, and you've identified what seat that is before this meeting started, when you introduced yourself, tonight you're not a town council member. Tonight you're a member of the Joint Finance Committee, and your role in that capacity is to review this budget and to determine whether the request being put in front of you is an appropriate request to fund education in this district, to provide a good quality education to the students in this community so that they can come back and serve this community going forward and be our replacements in our roles as leaders in this district. So I'd ask you to remember that and look at that as the primary focus of your role tonight and not anything else. Now with that in mind, if you don't mind, I would like to turn any other comments going forward in the presentation of the request to Dr. Andre, the superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next on our agenda is consideration of the minutes from the last two meetings, the meeting of March 16th and the meeting of March 31st of 2016. So I believe those minutes were distributed via email, and I would like to entertain a motion relating to those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So that motion was to capture both of the meetings, so thank you very much. I'd just like to echo what Chairman Silver said about the activity that we saw prior to this meeting out in the foyer. It was an amazing display of enthusiasm and excitement, and I think there's a lot for all of us to be proud of as far as the level of accomplishment that we've seen in some of those displays out there, the excitement of our students. So thanks for arranging that, Dr. Andre. With that, I want to turn this over to you, and here you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is my honor and privilege to be in front of you tonight and call myself the superintendent of schools each and every day. It's quite remarkable to come into our schools and see that level of excitement in our kids. So I do want to do one more shout out to the students in our showcase of awesomeness that was in our lobby from 6 to 7. So can I get an applause for the students? Tonight we are also live streaming this meeting, and that's in great thanks to our broadcasting class here at Mount Hope High School. Ryder Farris is behind the camera over there, and this is all the coordination is through the Mount Hope students. So thank you, the broadcasting class. I also want to recognize our administrators tonight, so if you guys all can stand in unison, a great Bristol Warren administration team. We also want to recognize our school committee members for all their support as well. So school committee members who are in the audience. And I know Mr. Ritzmer is in the audience, and I think I saw one or two state officials, so thank you for coming tonight as well. As Mr. Silva said, tonight is it isn't just about money, but it's also about celebrations. There are two main questions before us tonight. One, is the community getting a return on its investment? And two, are we presenting a fiscally appropriate budget? So let's start talking about our celebrations. Over a year ago, we developed district goals and a vision statement around these 5 areas: creating vibrant learning environments, engaging family in the communities, preparing for college and careers, personalizing learning for the whole child, and supporting the ongoing development of our excellent educators. So how are we doing in those areas? In our community partnerships, we're thankful for the East Bay Chamber of Commerce, our Rotary Clubs, Messiago, Bank of Newport, and BWF for enhancing the learning within our schools. For the past 2 years, our local businesses have provided internship opportunities for our students, and several serve on our career and technical advisory program. As you know, last year and over the course of the year, we had many articles on our interns who participated in East Bay Manufacturing, Wateroa, Trimac, and Jade Plastics. It was a tremendous success. This year, we have over 20 students who are engaged in internship projects as well. And a special thanks goes out to Lou Victorino, Dan Shedd, Peter King, the Mack family, Matt Dunham, Charlie, and Jerry from the Bristol EDC for their leadership in making this happen. So thank you. I think some of them are in the audience tonight, so thank you for your leadership as well. We also had some celebration on the district level. The district received the Rhode Island High Performance Award. It's the first time the district RIDE has ever given this award to a district. It's typically to a superintendent, it's typically to a business official, or the director of facilities. Since all 3 of us, myself, Pauline Silver, and George Simmons, were nominated for our individual awards, they actually awarded the district for our collective thought and systems approach to providing high-quality learning environments. So congratulations to us. We were also selected to be part of the League of Innovative Schools. We are one of 86 districts in the country, one of two in New England to be in this highly competitive group. We are at the forefront in being in this League of Innovative Schools. We also were selected into being a Smarter Schools Budgeting Award, where we received a scholarship part of our stellar audit reviews and strategic planning. So being awarded for in recognition of our budgeting process. The district also, for the first time ever, the Council of Exceptional Children awarded a district, a whole department, the National Teacher of the Year Award. Think about that. Instead of one person who actually received it here, Amanda Georgie received it 3 years ago. So this is the second time within the 3 years that Bristol Warren has been selected as a National Teacher of the Year Award. This time it did not go to one teacher, it went to the whole department, and that's through the leadership of Leslie Anderson and our partnership with the University of Connecticut. So each teacher is part of that collective thinking that just promotes the excellence in our response to intervention in our National Center Intensive Intervention Movement. So congratulations to our special education department. And additionally, we have our internships. So not only are we doing it at the district level, we also have some individuals who received recognition. Tom Driscoll received the first Rhode Island Digital Learning Champion for the state, so congratulations, Tom. Jen Saturday is a Flipgrid ambassador, Wayne Lima, a formative ambassador, Rachel Began, a Seesaw ambassador, Jen Crandall, who's here tonight with her students, is a swivel pioneer, and our very own Pauline Silva was the Ryasbo School Business Official of the Year. Congratulations to you all. So from a district approach, we are making successes, our individuals are being recognized, And let's start talking about our academic success. This past year on PARC, we've seen significant increases in ELA and math. Mount Hope ELA increased 37 points on their PARC scores. Hugh Cole, increase of 18 in ELA. Rockwell, an increase of 17 points. Colt Andrews, Rockwell continues to be a commended school, and I think we're up to 7 years, Tara, now?
Be careful, test, yeah.
Yep, it's 7. So 7 years of commended. I think we're one of the longest streaks in the state at this point. You can shout out, that's great. So what doesn't get recognized sometimes, and I want to acknowledge, is the work at Colt Andrews. So while significantly, while they did not meet statistically significant increases, what's really important, it doesn't make the papers, and what's not included is that in grade 4, 0% 0 kids scored in the lowest category of not meeting its standards. So think about that for a second. In our lowest category, no kids, or on the state test, in the category of not meeting standards, Colt Andrews had 0 kids. The year before, there was about 14% of our students were in that category, which does not make the paper. The following year, it was at 0. So not only are we moving our students from in the highest categories, we're also moving the students from the lowest categories. And that doesn't happen by accident. Support such as a strong building leadership, coaches, highly effective educators, high quality professional development, data meetings, RTI systems and structures, are all in place in that school, and Colt Andrews should be commended for moving all students forward. So shout out to Colt Andrews. So what we missed on this slide is our graduation rate. It was just published last week in the newspaper that the graduation rate in the Bristol Warren School District increased 4 points. We're up at 91% proficient. And I can tell you, the 3 women in the back can tell you exactly where the other 9% are. They know each student's story, and they'll get those students across the stage at some point. So congratulations to Mount Hope for 91% graduation rate. So in the class of the graduating class of 2016, over 190 students went on to 2- and 4-year institutions. 2 students went into the military, and 9 students started their careers. Here's some of the schools that our students were accepted into: Bates College, Bentley University, Berkeley College of Music, Boston College, Boston University, Brandeis, Brown, Bryant, Butler, Carnegie Mellon, University of Connecticut, Cornell, Dartmouth, Duke, Georgetown, Ithaca, Johns Hopkins, Johnson & Wales, University of Maine, Marist, UMass Amherst, UPenn, Providence College, URI, Roger Williams, Salve, Tufts, Union College, Worcester Polytech, and the United States Naval Academy. Congratulations to all those students. That's quite a feat. So we're also making success in our career and college pathways. We just had a state tournament, and here's some of the results of the DECA career development. First place in hospitality and tourism, operational research. First place for startup business plans, advertising campaign, sport and entertainment promotion plans. First place for travel and tourism. Second place in restaurant and food, quick serve, marketing, sports marketing, advertising campaign, and so on. You can read those slides, but congratulations to our DECA team. Our performing arts. Last year we had 1 high school all-state musician for choral, 3 in band, 9 in guitar. Mount Hope Jazz Band has performed in the Somerset Jazz Festival Award. We have all-state musicians at KMS, 5 students, and our Mount Hope Marching Band will be performing in the Big E coming up. So congratulations to our staff band and performing arts students. We hear from students, families, and community members on how much they value the arts in our schools. Our visual and performing arts are on top quality and contribute greatly to providing students with well-rounded education, allowing them to explore their talents and building cultural and historical awareness and enrich their lives in so many ways. Right now, we have 160 performing arts students preparing for a performance on April 7th at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Additionally, if you have time next week, our all bands concert will be at Roger Williams, Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So join us. So not only are we performing in the performing arts, we also have some athletic successes. State titles, gymnastics state champions, KMS wrestling state champions, 4 KMS wrestlers individual state championships, 1 freshman state championship, gymnastics state championships in 2016, softball state championships, division titles, gymnastics, KMS wrestling, KMS boys soccer, girls lacrosse, fast pitch softball, baseball, girls soccer, girls volleyball. Girls volleyball, first time ever in school history. Congratulations. Continuing on athletic prowess, Carrie Ferrara received the Rhode Island Female Coach of the Year for all sports. Gatorade Secondary School Athletic Training Award we received this year. Carrie Ferrara also received the Division I Soccer Coach of the Year. We received the Rhode Island Spirit of Sport Award in 2016, a National Football Federation Golden Dozen winner, and then 2 Senior Excellence Awards, and several All-Americans, and I'll let you read, you can read the rest of those, but congratulations to all our athletics. So as you can see, we've been quite successful over the last year, and those are one-year accomplishments. So moving forward, classroom comparison. The classroom of 1917 and the classroom of 2017. How much has changed? How much is still the same? There's also an elephant in that room. Anybody notice? What's the elephant in the room? I see people shaking. It's not really 1917. It was really 1917. It's not. Mr. Silva's not in that picture though. Sorry, Mr. Silva. Mr. Sorrell's in there. But that's exactly it, Ms. Perrell. They're still sitting in rows. The only difference there is that they actually have a computer in a television at the front of the room. The elephant in the room, it's not always about technology. So it's much more, and I think the district has taken a different approach. So over the past 2 years, we've committed ourselves to be a future-ready school, and really the transition to digital learning. And we talk about the pillars of digital learning and the future-ready gears. So when we think about that change to a 2017 classroom, we think about digital learning amplifying the impact of great teaching. Amplifying the impact of great teaching. When carefully designed and thoughtfully applied, technology accelerates, amplifies, and expands the impact of our teachers. And we can never forget that. It's about personalized learning. Digital learning personalizes instruction by tailoring content, pacing, and feedback to the needs and the interests of our students, empowering them to regulate and take ownership of their learning. Digital learning also ensures that all students have anytime, anywhere access to learning resources. In Bristol Warren, our transformation is about enhanced assessments, and not the assessments around standardized testing. The assessment, whether they're formative or summative. When we talk about our digital assessments, we want to help making thinking visible. So some of our ambassadors, we use apps like Seesaw and Flipgrid, Informative. We want kids to actually articulate how they're thinking and be able to communicate so that we can give descriptive feedback to what the students are doing right and where their misconceptions can be. And our digital transformation is about deeper learning. Digital learning creates environments that promote deeper learning opportunities to help students create, communicate, collaborate, and engage in problem solving grounded in real-world challenges. Students can amplify their voice and their knowledge by connecting, sharing, learning with expanded and authentic audiences beyond the classroom. That's what we expect in Bristol Warren schools in 2017 and beyond. And so there is a gear down there around future ready. So when we talk about technology, it's not only about that Chromebook. It's about building curriculum instruction and assessment, a system with a robust infrastructure. We think about use of space and time, our budget, our resources, data, and privacy. We think about personalized professional learning, our community as partners, and all that can't be done without that band of collaborative leadership centered on the students. That's what we expect in Bristol Warren. And here's some, and you can see some of the pictures. The top left hand picture there is a perfect environment of flexible learning. We have our elementary students reading a book. We have another student on an iPad actually using an app to capture their learning so that they can to write on the screen later to actually articulate their thinking and show their progress. So you can see students in different learning centers using technology to enhance their learning. Here we see collaboration and students creating. That's how we see technology in our classrooms. So what are people saying about our transformation? A teacher from Portsmouth. My time spent in your school was awe-inspiring. There is a clear focus on student learning and your goals. I saw students highly engaged in their learning and teachers facilitating tasks and activities that promoted deeper learning thinking, which are personalized, differentiated, and accessible to all. I want to thank you again for your hospitality, your openness to allow me to view your classrooms in action, and your offer to support continued collaborative nature that this visit has garnished. Students are engaged in work and like to investigate and try new technologies. And that goes back to great teaching. Teachers are stepping out of their comfort zone and asking for help, advice, tutorials. It's great to see that the work we are doing in our classrooms is impacting the way teachers want to teach. That is the reason we are part of the DLT. Teachers are taking personal risks to use more technology in their classroom. Teachers are willing to ask for help. So that's what some people are saying at the local level. I also want to show you this video from Tom Murray. Tom?
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. Hi, good evening, everybody. It's good to see you. My name is Tom Murray. I'm the Director of Innovation for Future Ready Schools, a part of the Alliance for Excellent Education located in Washington, D.C. You know, over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to work with probably about 800 school district teams, about 4,000 school leaders from coast to coast. What I can honestly say coming to you tonight is Bristol Warren stands out. I had the opportunity to actually visit. About a year ago, I was working with all the superintendents in Rhode Island for a day, and Mario and the team invited me because it was only in the morning, and they invited me back in the afternoon. And I had the opportunity to meet with your Future Ready planning team and just to hear some of the thoughts. And really what excites me the most as somebody that works nationwide with Future Ready and the tools and those things is the depth of the planning that Mario and the team have really taken. You know, one of the things that we have coast to coast that we're seeing on the negative side is we're buying all this stuff, we're putting it out there and kind of wondering what's the impact going to be. But I'm not worried about that in Bristol Warren. When I see the depth of the planning that's taken place, having been able to watch the Future Ready Action Plan come to light over a number of months, stakeholder input, community input, teacher input, so on and so forth, the depth of the level of planning is something that, number one, all districts should expect, but I can tell you Bristol Warren has gone above and beyond. I've been so impressed with the leadership, the school culture they're trying to create, but also getting so many people involved, from principals to teachers to community members. And that stems from the leadership at the top, and that stems from a dynamic planning team saying, let's do this right. So I want to congratulate Bristol Warren. What I will tell you is, working nationwide with truly thousands of school districts in different ways, we use you as a model in different ways. We use your team as a model of how to do things systemically, how to take your time to do things right. But also in taking a look at the planning, the actual plan that you have through Bristol Warren, we take a look at that plan and we serve that as a model for the nation and what districts really need to do this well. So congrats for a great planning process. We are proud of you from the national level. We will continue to look and watch your guidance as you continue to lead the way in many different areas. And most importantly, thanks for all you do for kids.
Absolutely. So I want to thank Tom Murray for sending a personal note, and I think Tom could give the whole presentation on how well we're doing academically. But it is a privilege to be part of the Future Ready team. Middle school principal Jared Vance sat on a national panel talking about our Future Ready initiative. I sat on panels regionally. Tom Driscoll and Rose Muller have actually written for national magazines and blogs about our work in the district, so we've been publicized. So congratulations once again to the district and our Future Ready work. So those are our, I think, answers our first part. Are we getting our academic return on investment? I think that we all can agree. I think that answer is yes. We are making tremendous progress. So let's talk a little bit about our budget process for this upcoming year. Each year I hear questions about our budget. And I'll be the first one to admit, I can't tell you what the 32 zeros mean in the UCOA accounts. That's Pauline's job. I just ask, what are our priorities? And so when we go through our budgeting process, and Pauline puts me through this, and I think it's a wonderful notion, we ask these questions to ourselves. In our budgeting process, what are our student learning goals? What is preventing us from reaching our goals? What are the best strategies to reach our goals? How do we pay for those strategies? And how do we prioritize the strategies over long terms? So that's how we start the questions in that budgeting process. So let's dive a little deeper into some of our budget data that I often ask myself. What are we funding? What are our priorities? So we look at 5 main function areas. How much of our budget is going to instruction? 51%. Instructional supports, 16%. Operations, 14%. Other commitments, 13%. And leadership, 5%. The other commitments, I just want to be able to call that out a little, which is really high when we compare it to other districts. In our category of other commitments includes the number of special education placements, our charter school tuitions, our vocational tuitions, and our post-retirement benefits. So looking at those 5 function areas and then comparing it to our neighboring communities across, you can see where we could compare. How much is Barrington putting into those same areas? Their instruction is a little higher, but their other commitments is lower. So we do take time to analyze and see, are we funding our priorities correctly? And are they in the right areas? And again, the outlier here is our other commitments. Things that we really can't touch when we go into the budgeting process. Post-retirement benefits, out-of-district tuition. It's roughly about $5 million of our budget that we can't touch when we think about moving forward. Much higher than other districts. So looking at that, I asked the question, what else impacts our budget? We know the impact of the funding formula. In June 23rd, in 2010, we know this slide. We see it almost every year. But I'll bring it up again. The funding formula stipulated back in 2010 that we would lose approximately $704,000 a year in state revenue from FY11 through FY20. So what does that look like over the years? How much money have we lost in the revenues coming to Bristol Warren? 2012, $800,000. 2013, $793,000. 2014, $708,000. 358, 538, 579. This year we got a bonus. It's only a negative of $413,000. So we have seen the impact of the funding formula on Bristol Warren over the last number of years. Our state aid revenue in 2012 was approximately $18 million. This year we're projected to receive $14.3 million in state aid. So let's look at our revenue sources. And this is a chart from 2012, looking at where our revenue came from. And so this is federal, state, and local revenue sources. And if you can see in 2012, Bristol Warren is actually 5th from the bottom on the contribution of local aid. Below us is West Warren, Bowerville, Pawtucket, Woonsocket, Davies, and Central Falls. The state average for local contribution was 57%. And for Bristol Warren that year, we received 7% of our revenue was from federal, 34% from state, and 59% in local. 2 years later, after the enactment of the funding formula, we can see some changes. In Bristol Warren, our local contribution went up to 61%, and the state average was at 54%. School districts that we hopped over were Foster Gloucester, West Warwick, East Providence, the schools that now fell below us were Foster Gloucester, West Warwick, East Providence, Central Falls, Pawtucket. So in those 2 years, we did not move too much in those categories. So again, moving forward, this is 2014. We need to start looking at our budget requests over time. So since 2009 through FY17, this is the percent the district has actually requested to the JFC, and the percent approved. The actual budget increases from 2009 through 2017 for local and state revenue is 3.6%. Sorry, 3.16. So, again, just to let it sink in, our budget from FY09 through FY17 is a change of 3.16%. including the reduction of all the state revenue. So knowing those two slides, where we were in 2014 and where we ranked in our budget request over time, I wonder where we would rank on that list. Would we still be 6th from the bottom? Would we be lower, or would we be higher? So tonight, my ask is to fund our budget. Our budget request is an additional $1.1 million. Our loss of state aid is $413,626. Increase over other revenues. And the total ask for the local contribution is $1.408116. That's an increase or an ask of an increase of 4% to the local, or 2.14 to the overall budget. Included in that request, and that decision did not come lightly. That budget already includes cuts to 6 elementary teachers, not funding band uniforms, slowing down some of our technology implementation. We did a thoughtful allocation and prioritization of our budget before making this request. So cuts have been made, and there are several new investments in this budget request as well. We are looking, I mentioned internships earlier on in the presentation. We didn't know if we were going to have clear and robust and sustainable pathways for career and college readiness. We need to build the infrastructure. We're asking for a part-time secondary community coordinator. To date, it's been myself, Diane Santa, the high school administration, 2 high school teachers beating the doors at local businesses to see if we can start forming internships. We need to build that infrastructure. I want to thank Mr. Tisco, who actually started beating down the doors with us over the last couple of months too. But it takes a lot of work, and if we're going to build it, we need to build it right. So we're looking for some resources in this budget to start building that infrastructure so it's sustainable and it's successful. We're also looking for a secondary math coach. We know our KMS math scores aren't where they need to be. So we're looking at investing in job-embedded professional development to help our educators through a secondary math coach. And we're also looking at providing students with more support in the areas of social and emotional needs. It's been a great change in our student population around social and emotional issues in our classrooms. So we are looking for an investment in a social emotional case manager. So it also comes up on what is or isn't in our budget. And so I just want to make sure, and I'll leave some of the comments I was thinking until next week, but please know that 97% of our budget is contractual obligations and requirements within the BEP. So that 3% that is discretionary includes things like interscholastic athletics, middle school athletics, extracurricular activities, the marching band, extended day programs, enrichment activities, comprehensive student supports, after-school transportation. And again, I just want to reiterate, other untouchables, our OPEB liability, $2.4 million, and our out-of-district tuitions to career and tech education, including the MET, charter schools, and our special education placements. It's approximately $3.5 million. And our busing and textbooks for students at private schools is approximately $500,000. So when the question comes up, if you don't receive your full budget, what can and can't you cut? Those are things that are untouchable, non-negotiable, and all the cuts will come from the services to the students within the Bristol Warren schools. So I just want to thank you for your time, and I think tonight you heard evidence that the community is getting a return on the investment based on the budget book you have before you, and the district is presenting a reasonable and fiscally responsible budget. So we always have the saying, students first, educators are our greatest resource, and continuous improvement. And I just want to end with one quote from a Chinese proverb. If you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. If you're planning for a lifetime, educate people. So thank you for your attention, and Pauline and I will be happy to entertain any questions. Thank you.
It's clear that the needle's moving, the pendulum's swinging, and it's in a direction that you should be proud of. So thank you for everything that you're doing, and we're all proud as well. So thank you. With that, I wanted to give the opportunity for this committee to ask questions to Dr. Andre. So, please.
Thank you, Dr. Andre and Pauline, and to all the administrators and parents and teachers that are here tonight. I just wanted to see if you could elaborate a little bit on one of the documents I think we were sent, which made reference to the fact that in preparing the budget, you were very sensitive to the fiscal situations of the two communities that make up the school district. And I wonder if you could share with us tonight some of how you considered that and some of the things that went into that thought process in a little bit more detail.
So can you elaborate a little more on the thought process that went into the, are you considering like the revenue sources from the locals?
Yes, one of the, I believe it was one of the transmittal letters that we were sent had a paragraph in it that referenced specifically the sensitivity to the plight and the financial situations of the two communities, and I was just wondering if you could share with us.
Yeah, sure. I think I penned the letter, so that's why I was just, which, obviously, you know, I've been part of the system since 2009. I've been here for many, many meetings, involved in a lot of conversations, the court cases, so I'm not foreign to the happenings in the district over the last couple of years. So I think when I wrote that, I know what's been going on, whether it's through the court case or tax bases and the conversations happening. But I think I want to be cognizant on when I look at making those comments, not everything is about the tax rate as well. And so I think a part of the conversation tonight is being cognizant on funding our priorities. So I think where I would question back to the towns and the town councils are the town councils funding their priorities as well? So is it moving from 55% of the budget to 57% of the budget? Are those questions to be asked as well in moving that, or is everything around the tax rate? So I know what the conversations were happening and what the citizens can and can't afford. So I want to be really, as Mr. Tiska said, really about moving the needle and having informed, innovative conversations on how we provide fiscally responsible budget to both towns and to the JFC tonight. So I think there's other ways to look at revenue, and it's not always about increasing the tax rate. So I would love to be creative with both towns, but I think tonight is really about, is it a fiscally responsive budget where since 2009 has only been a 3.16% increase. Tonight's asking for 2 more, but I think there might be different ways on looking at how do we shift in funding our resources. So when we make cuts over the last couple of years, we're at 51% of our budget goes to instruction. And this year, again, we already cut 6 teachers. So it's really hard to say, are we funding our priorities when we're cutting 6 teachers? It's really hard. So that's why I think it's really difficult kind of conversations, I think, between the school department and the town councils on, are there other ways to shift money within a tight budget as opposed to raising the tax rate?
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent. I'd like to thank everybody and thank you for all you do, especially your administration and faculty. Thank you for all your hard work in this presentation here this evening and all the parents here with us joining us and your interest in your student and children's education. My first question before I give my thoughts on the presentation is you mentioned at the end of your presentation the OPEB liability. Is Bristol Warren part of the interlocal municipal trust going forward with that liability?
We are not. Our OPEB liability is lessening. The last evaluation, we were at $20 million. We're on a pay-go, so we pay about $2.5 million to that on a pay-go. No district employee hired after 1993 has or is eligible for any post-employment benefits. Therefore, when the current folks who have the insurance pass on, that liability is gone.
Thank you for that clarity in comparison to the other municipalities. Part of the presentation here this evening is first the accolades and the awards of the performing arts and our athletics and the classrooms itself. And every year since this is my 5th time part of the Joint Finance Committee and the school department, is you can't ascertain those accolades or awards if programs are cut. So I am cognizant of that going forward and how times change in the educational world, such as the digital age and the demands of the faculty that might have to rotate and step up for those newly created positions. With that said, I think you did a great job saying how proactive planning and then assessing each situation long-term and then visiting that big key component to this budget going forward, because as we know, the contractual parts and the inner works are pretty much standard part of the budget. I think going forward is the infrastructure part and how it has to accommodate all of us in each school and the health and safety aspects. And I know I have an integral part with the building committee and being commended by the school building authority of the state of Rhode Island. We were very happy when we had our meeting to be addressed in a manner that Bristol Warren has shovel-ready projects. We're in a good fiscal position to go forward, and the rate of return from the state that is expeditious on that return once we implement that financial burden will be returned to the district and the municipalities. Especially one of the big projects, and I know my colleagues from the town of Bristol supported, is the field improvements. It doesn't only act as an improvement just for the students in the schools, but the way they structured it with the mitigation and the long-term planning of just drainage and the way it's going to be constructed, I think has to be conveyed to the public of why things might be so expensive, and to my colleagues going forward in that proactive measure. So other than just the educational part, which I commend, is the foresightfulness of the infrastructure going forward, instead of trying to do catch-up, trying to fix things in all our schools. So I just want my colleagues to be mindful of that. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just add to that what Mr. Stewart said? So we do have an application into the Department of Education right now. It's an $11 million application in capital improvements. that Mr. Stewart was part of that addresses needs in all 6 schools, including the fields. And the return of reimbursement is 64 to 76, 64 to 76% of our investment will be returned to the district. So thank you for your leadership on that committee.
Mr. Chair, if I could, I would like to speak as a member of the Joint Finance Committee, but bring a fact forward from the Town Council. When you met with us in a preliminary meeting and we were able to get a close figure on where you would be this evening, the action of the council at its first budget session was to punch in and set a tax rate that would accommodate the numbers if that is the wish of this committee. So I think that should be known, that the representatives from Warren are actually budgeting for the number that is being presented.
I have a good question on there's no question that you're doing wonderful work with the students, and they do an awesome job. And so many of the things that I've seen, not only here tonight, but out there in the community, in competitions. I'm most familiar with robotics because I see them in action quite frequently. On the 6 classroom, the 6 teachers that you said you've cut, is that a reflection of just sheer budget, or is that because you have less students coming up in the elementary school? Because that would represent about 120 to 150 kids.
Yeah, it's a decline in enrollment. It's the first time ever, since it's open, not the first time open, Colt Andrews has a decline in enrollment in their K, so we're actually reducing 1 class at Colt Andrews, 2 at Gutierrez, and 3 at Hugh Cole. A lot of it is due to decline in enrollment. Over the last couple of years, we actually we have bubble classes. We had an increase in enrollment, and we actually lost some students in 3rd grade. Usually they just age out in 5th grade, but actually now we have a decline in enrollment in 1st grade and 3rd grade. So it's a decrease there. So we evaluated class size and made an educationally sound decision to eliminate a classroom.
Is that projections into like approximately how many years in the future is that birth rate decline? Is for a period of years? Do you know?
In 2 of the classrooms, actually, they were just new classrooms within the last 2 years. So it's when we look at the NESDEC study, over the last 10 years, we should have seen a decline in enrollment. We actually had an increase, so we had to fund those classrooms. And then this year, the anomaly went away. One of the things, and I'll be really clear with the committee tonight, we have one of our biggest 8th grade classes we've ever seen. Those students will be, and I think we're doing a phenomenal job at the high school, so if we retain all those students this upcoming year, we may need additional teachers at the high school. So it's just a shifting in population, even though we've stayed around 3,300 students, they're moving up. We were able to eliminate teaching positions at the high school over the last number of years, and now that population, I think, due to the excellent educators in our classroom, building leadership to support the school committee, I think we're starting to retain a lot more families, and they're actually matriculating through the high school, and actually, as we've seen, they're graduating. So our high school hopefully will be expanding in a year, and I might be asking next year for additional high school teachers, and that might be offset by a declining enrollment at the elementary.
Good evening, excellent job, Mr. Warren. Regional school system has a lot to celebrate tonight, clearly. Dr. Andrea, I just had a question in regards to the funding formula. Clearly, we're losing quite a lot of money here on this, and I was just curious on how much does that impact, how much goes to the local towns, to how much goes to the budget to, prepare for each year you're losing. I mean, it looks like this year we're losing another $413,000, and then next year's projected another $108,000. So I was just curious how that gets split up. Do you have to, what cost saving measures do you take?
If I could explain how Ryan projects their numbers, I don't think we would have seen a lot of people this morning in court. I have no rhyme or reason how they calculate there. But Pauline can give a little more input. But the projections were each year 808, and we've seen different calculations come through depending on the formula. But so the second part of your question, how do we prepare for that?
Yeah, for an example, I mean, and I applaud you, you guys looked at the bus routes and you took action there, and I thought that was great, and you were able to find savings there. So, you know, with these constant, I mean, we're losing money there. What sort of measures are you taking to save there, or does it more a percentage go to the town to make up for it locally?
Well, there is a request, obviously in the previous slide, that there is a request to the locals to make up some of that offset. But I think each year, even in our budget proposal, you know, there is a line in there that we reduce various lines. So we do go through and look at our 5-year projections, and so right now it's a snapshot in time. And then if we look at our actuals, is there something that we can actually decrease? So this year, we're having a mild winter. We projected a year ago of how much we were going to spend in heat. And so at the end of the year, did we save in our heating bill? Was there extra money there? Do we, you know, so, and then we make projections for the following year based on our 5-year trend. Are we able to take 2 or 3% from there and we'll actually reduce numbers there? You mentioned the bus route. We look at our ridership. We actually just did another survey. And it looks like we might be able to get another bus off the road this year and save another $100,000. So we're always constantly evaluating. Within the budget, on your budget sheet, you see cohort 3, the digital learning team. In other words, that's our research and design. That's our pilot group. So we will be up to about 90 teachers next year who are actually on that digital learning team, looking at if there's new applications, new technology, new instructional strategies. They go through rapid cycles of evaluations or action research over 6 weeks to see if it's worthy of investing or to stop investing. So we have teachers really part of the process in evaluating any new programs to the district, and if it's not working, we stop investing. So we eliminated a number of subscriptions that online subscriptions this year and reduce those lines. So we're constantly looking at that before we come to the JFC, asking for new figures for the JFC. This year it's just been a difficult year. Last year, I think if you recall, our budget request was 0.64. And so we made certain determinations last year to take it off, and then with the continuing costs and contract obligations, we need 2.14 for the continuation of services.
Again, thank you so much for all of awesomeness. It was really wonderful to see all the students from elementary to middle school to high school working so well together and being so engaging. I learned a lot. Could you just talk a little bit more about this secondary intern coordinator, if that's the one that I'm thinking you were speaking of earlier, who would work, I think, at the high school in bringing students out into the community to local businesses and finding...
That's exactly it. So a lot of times right now it's myself, Dr. DiBiase, Mrs. King, or Dr. Burns, the high school administration, Mrs. Sanner, or 2 high school teachers trying to form those partnerships and do everything else. And it's just not sustainable. Years past, we had a school-based coordinator through Perkins money. That money went away, or we lost funding in that position. So we're trying to bring that back so that we have someone fully dedicated to build sustainable pathways for our students and also follow up with the businesses. Part of it is that day-to-day coordination, but I also see it as a PR firm. Are they able to write articles and blogs and take pictures and talk about the successes in our schools. So I think there's a lot more return on investment than a salary if we can actually promote and communicate all the wonderful happenings in our school. And it's not only for the high school, we want to make sure that students entering into 6th grade are aware of career and college pathways too. What does it mean to go to be an engineer? What college do I have to get to? What's my Lexile level? What classes do I have to take 6th and 7th and 8th grade? Do I have to come to school every day? How do we inspire kids and give them hope in those pathways? So I see that part-time position doing so much more than 15, 20 hours a week in that return on investment. But it is that building that infrastructure moving forward. We right now are researching to be a P-Tech high school. We're working with the Department of Labor and Training. We also have the Department of Commerce coming in. Mr. Tiska is part of this conversation as well. We just haven't had time to get 10 people around a table. So that is our mindset going forward, that if we are a P-Tech high school, that we can have kids leave Mount Hope after 5 or 6 years with an associate's degree. So we really want to think bold. The high school will have a new schedule next year. That's a block schedule that rotates in the afternoon and in the morning, that students can leave the brick and mortar in Mount Hope and actually experience their learning in the community and give them credit. So we are really thinking forward, and that doesn't cost us too much.
I just wanted to add to that. Of course, I'm pleased to see the community coordinator in the budget. I'm not as pleased that it's only a half-time position. I think there's plenty of work to be done, plenty of gains to be made by dedicating resources to building and maintaining relationships throughout the community, specifically with businesses. There's an opportunity to serve a population of our student body that's not served now, and making them aware of different opportunities in their own backyard. Again, I think that's a fantastic thing. You know, businesses speak a different language than educators. Educators speak a different language than businesses, and I think having a person who can continue to translate between the two will be a significant step towards building relationships throughout the community with our businesses. So thanks for doing that.
If I may, shifting the discussion slightly to Ms. Silva, since we know that the school, and I know that information is probably in here, but to just bring it public and easier for me to find, we know that the school district has its own bonding authority. And how much do we have in the general fund, and how much is in proportion to what we have bonded?
Okay. We don't have a bonding authority. We have a capital projects fund. There currently is 1.9 million in that fund. That is reimbursement from our projects from RIDE. So when we do a capital project like we did with the decentralization of the heating plant, that was a $2 million project. We're going to get reimbursed from RIDE like 1.4 million. That money will go right back into the capital projects fund, as well as fund balance at year end, which for FY16 was 133,000 that went into that. That's what we used in your packet this year. That's what we used to fund those projects. We have a 5-year plan broken into about $2 million, give or take 100,000 here and there each year. That will allow us to do $11 million worth of improvements over 5 years without an additional single dollar from our general fund. Not $1 will come from general fund. It'll all be funded by capital projects and the reimbursement that we get from RIDE.
I may have used a word inappropriately. When we have the general fund and you have your budget, the debt service and the amount that you need to maintain in your general fund to satisfy your fiscal responsibilities, what is the ratio?
Our reserve for emergencies, our reserve for cash flow purposes. By school committee policy, it's 2% for emergencies and 2% for cash flow.
And that number represents, so out of the $60 million or 55, whatever the budget is, how much is actually in the general fund or the reserve, however you want it?
It's part of fund balance, though. It's not a budgeted amount. It's part of fund balance. I don't budget for fund balance. Am I
I
not
thought that,
understanding the question?
I'm probably not presenting well. I thought that you needed, just like the town needs to set aside a certain percentage in order to satisfy its debt.
Okay, so yep, that's a debt service payment. And so this year, in fact, that is in the booklet.
I know it's in here.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
about
wasn't.
2.6 million, but from that we get 1.5 million from the state. So the net of that, approximately half, about 40%, is what the district has to pay and budget for.
So I guess where I'm going with this is.
That's part of the fixed cost that Mario referred to earlier.
The amount of money that you would be able to dip into, theoretically, if the entire number wasn't funded, your reserve balance is how much?
We don't have a reserve balance. We have a reserve for emergencies and a reserve for cash flow purposes.
So in years past, when this committee has made cuts, how did you operate without making cuts? Or did you have to make cuts in order to, so there's no general fund?
No, nor can we bond for that.
And that's good for the public to know, because I'm sure you've heard it.
What's interesting to note is in 2009, when this administrative team got together, our outstanding debt was 32 million. At this point in time, our outstanding debt is less than 18 million.
Dr. Andrew, I'm wondering if you could restate two numbers for me. The first one being the percentage increase since 2009 compared to the percentage increase for this year compared to last year.
So the percentage increase from 2009 through 2016, the 3.16. And then the second one was from last year, this year. We're asking for a 2.14.
So one might say that you're making up for lost time, but then also one might say, is it enough? And I say, is it enough because I'm wondering if there is opportunity to make investments in areas that you initially said you can't touch. So for example, out of district tuition, and it's a large number, and we're an outlier, and I'm wondering if there are ways that we can be competitive as a district to continue to satisfy the needs for the students that are leaving our district and causing a financial diversion of funds which we could continue to be invested in our school system.
So I would answer that question a different way. I wouldn't actually allocate the money to our districts to reduce the cost of the students who already left. I would invest the money of the students that are here so they don't leave. So it would be in our instruction, our instructional support, and look at our supports to staff, our professional development, our social emotional health and well-being. So those would be additional, whether purchase services, school psychologists, social workers, guidance counselors, job embedded professional development on how to handle behavior issues. So I would actually invest the money there if you said, Mario, here's a blank check. So is that what I heard?
Yeah, so
blank check?
well, Are there currently investments being made in strategically addressing the issue that we are spending significant dollars or losing significant dollars related to out-of-district tuition?
Yes, yeah,
Can we make more?
we always can make more. I think we can't invest in our educators enough. And it's really about time for collaboration so that teachers can work together. We have, you heard it multiple times from our teachers from outside. I think our teachers are second to none. Our educators, our building administrators are second to none. We have some of the best and brightest people in our district, and so I want to thank them for their expertise. What we need to invest in is more time for them to actually collaborate and problem solve together. So whether that looks like before school, after school, more people so that we can get them together so that they can actually hammer home and get to the root cause of what's causing either stress or misconceptions so that students' behaviors or deviant or aberrant behaviors don't escalate. So it's really invested in time and people within our community. And I see Mary shaking because I think she's living the same issues. Yeah.
I had a question as a follow-up to that, or as part of that, and that is, so of the kids that go out of district placement, there are some that go because they have severe disabilities and needs, and you kind of can't do that much about that. But do you know the percentage is of those kids versus, say, the kids who are leaving to go to either technical school or to the Met? And what is the fascination? I mean, I understand the Met offers, I'm fully aware of that, but, there's so many programs and options here that why would kids want to leave for that? I'm just curious if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, we roughly have about, I think it's 32 students right now at the high school level that go to the Met or East Providence Career and Technical School. And I don't want to diminish. I think it's really great if there's a Bristol Warren student who's in 8th grade who wants to be an auto mechanic and they go to East Providence to be an auto mechanic. We don't have the resources here. Great, go for it. I don't like losing the revenue, but I think it's great for that student and for that family, so I would not discourage that student. But we have a lot more students going to the Met, and it's about 32 students. And that's about, if you put a price tag of $10,000, that's $320,000 of state aid. That's a pass-through. That goes right to the Met school that's allocated to Bristol Warren that we can't cut from there. And some of the students are going there because they might think it's they're trying to find themselves. It might be a social emotional issue. They're trying to connect. So if we have more wraparound services for those students, I think we'll be able to retain them, especially as we're looking at P-Tech, pathways and internships in a smaller personalized learning environment at the high school. I think we'll be able to retain them and keep half of those students.
I think that's really like the way that target population, are the Met, maybe not the East Providence Career Tech because they might have one mechanic than the other. But I mean, that is a big number that's heading there. And maybe a smaller learning community, but it's not, I mean, it's structured differently, but it's still academic. You know what I mean? It's not like a totally hands-on as like auto mechanics and some of the other things that the technical schools have.
And just to that point, the national award we got for the special ed department is really about our response to intervention and how do we retain students. And in the high school, it's really, I give credit to our staff, it's really peeling an onion on why students are failing in 9th and 10th grade, and they're getting deep into that work. But once you start getting to the root cause, do you have the capacity, the human capacity to actually do something about it? You can't change your schedule overnight. You can't add another guidance counselor. You can't add another intervention class. So we're trying to be really innovative within the school day and not come back to the JFC saying, we just need more and more and more. We're trying to stop investing in the things that aren't working and reinvest where we need. So we're at that point.
To the point of the technical schools and the internships, over the past couple of years, it's been a robust discussion, not only here locally, but at the state and federal level. So my question would be, this new part-time
coordinator position. Has there been any discussion? I know the roundtable with the Economic Development Commission was a successful meeting. Maybe more has to take place. To that point, has there been any discussion of funding mechanisms maybe that can be ascertained with the discussion at the state level? I know sometimes when we go that route, Mr. Superintendent, I'll be the first to say I'm still battering with the enabling legislation, but just to pose the question, if there is a funding mechanism on those discussions at the state or federal level, if we put forth a proposal, because I'm a big supporter of extending the internships. I think it's crucial going forward. So I'm just wondering, has there been any discussions of maybe alternate funding at the state level or federal level that might be at our disposal?
Yeah, great question, and Mr. Tiska has been around the table. I think that's why we're sitting down with the Department of Labor and Training and the Department of Commerce. So we are looking for grants. So as Mr. Tiska said, more is better. So we can start building and sustaining or building into our budget a position, because grant money goes away. And what happens when the grant money goes away? You don't want to lose the program. So I think we need to start investing locally and then start chasing that grant money. So if we had this part-time person to work with Diane Santa and write grants, I think the potential is unlimited. I think we're right at the brink of actually, if we can build that infrastructure, we can bring in so many wonderful resources for our students. I think we have over 400 businesses within Bristol Warren, whether they're mom and pop shops or international companies that I think our students can be exposed to. It's just working on the coordination so that students can leave being credentialed, whether to go right into career, or they understand what it means to be an engineer before their families invest $300,000 in their college tuition. So I think we're just at the brink, and we start in this proposal, we're looking for a small investment so that we can really pursue larger grants and build a program together. So we are meeting with the Department of Labor and Training. Mr. Tiska has been connecting us with RIMTA, the Marine Trades Association as well. We have connections with Synidia. Southeast New England Defense Industry Association as well. So we're really pursuing the marine trades in Bristol Warren.
Thank you.
Excellent presentation. This particular meeting was probably the most informative we've had in the last, since I've been here in the 5 years. So this has been really helpful. I just want to point out a couple of things. A couple of my takeaways, the 0% the lowest categories at Colt Andrews is just phenomenal. 4% increase in graduation rates and 91% is just, again, phenomenal. On a personal end of things, I like to tell you that I have 2 kids in the school system. Both of them are at Colt Andrews. And my personal experience has been not only top quality educators, caring and involved, but there's the aides that are there, and somebody I'd like to call out in particular is the janitor there, Mr. Dennis. Took my son Nate from a place where Nate liked to be at home, wasn't happy about going to school, and people like Mr. Dennis that are not necessarily somebody that you think of as part of the system are an immense part of the system, and I think they don't get the credit that they deserve. I also enjoyed this last part here is that we're talking about career paths, and not everybody wants to go to college. And I love hearing that there's conversation about that. And it's not just conversation, but steps being taken to give children the choice. If they do want to go to college, then wonderful. And if they don't, we're helping them go down that path too. So all in all, excellent. Thank you.
Just as we're going, I think one of the things that's not in here, and Mr. Cora was highlighting, what we're doing in Bristol Warren is building culture around continuous improvement, teachers taking risks. And so my administrators know, but I say this a lot, culture eats structure for breakfast. You can't put a price tag on how much it costs to build structure, to build a culture, but we're doing that. And so I think we need to really think about the investment in our educators around building their capacity to do their jobs, and it is our secretaries, custodians, just everybody who's involved, our coaches, but they all have the mindset that we'll do whatever it takes for our students. And so it's really been, from a superintendent's level, really rewarding and inspiring to walk into our buildings and see our educators and our custodians and our secretaries doing whatever it takes for our students. So thank you.
So with that, if there's no other committee members at this time, of course, you're welcome to continue to engage, but I'd like to offer anyone who's attended this evening an opportunity to comment, make any discussion, ask any questions this evening. So please come on up. Okay, well, with that, we'll keep moving right along here. Again, thank you, Dr. Andrew, for that great presentation. I just wanted to bring up an agenda item. We skipped over into a proposal to this Joint Finance Committee put forth by Mr. Pasquale, and do you want to make a comment about that? Yes, proposal.
I had a proposal last year, and it was presented, and it made the agenda this evening, and unfortunately, I did not print copies. I made the mistake of thinking that it had been done, and the request hadn't been sent off to the proper people to make the printing. It is on the agenda. If anyone would like to discuss the proposal, we could, but I would like to make a motion to move it to next week's meeting.
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pasquale. So, any further discussion or questions before we move along here? I'd like to give the final words to Chairman Silva. So please, the floor is yours.
And that's fun again. I don't know how we get this thing to.
We can bring in one of the STEM children, maybe. They can.
It would be nice. It's green, but it's not on.
Here you go, try it.
Is it? All right, thank you.
They just didn't want you to talk.
Yeah, it's the women in the back. They do a phenomenal job in this building with the students and the staff, but they don't want to listen to me. Again, I want to thank you all for the time and the questions. It's very clear that you've given it some thought. I want to especially thank the Warren Town Council. I know they're not really sitting here tonight by my own comments, but it's nice to hear that in planning your budget, you planned locally to fund the request coming from the school department. I really am happy to hear that. I want to just bring up a couple of things if I can, because Mr. Sweeney asked a question, and it's relative to the funding formula. And Tim, you and I have no issues between us. We get along fine, and I'm not looking to pick on you, but I want to point out the fact that when the state enacted that funding formula, there were plenty of meetings, and there were a number of them that were even held here. And in essence, what the state said is, we're doing this funding formula because we believe that we can give certain areas less money because they can afford to pay it. So the state was standing here on this very stage at one point, telling the towns of Bristol and Warren that we're reducing funding for education because we believe you two communities can support what we're taking out. Your question was, what are we doing as a school district to make up that loss? I want to know, what are you doing as two towns, two municipalities to make up that loss? Because the place that took it away told everybody in this state that the two municipalities should be making up the difference. Dr. Andre talked about how we do look at things every year look at getting rid of things to take care of our budget, and try to keep it as low as possible. You heard tonight that over the span of 8 years, 8 fiscal years in the school district, our budget has only increased 3.16%. I question whether or not either of the two communities that fund this district can make the same claim. Because last year, we asked for a mere 0.64 increase in our budget. And what we were left with was a reduction of almost $750,000 from the year before. And we had to survive with that. So we do make the sacrifices as a school district. And while we may not agree as members of the community with what the state funding formula did to us, we all have to live with it. And we have to plan for it, and we have to move ahead. Now, I know that your role, you need to look at both seats that you sit in and worry about the entire population that makes up these two communities. So you not only worry about the parents who have children in the school district, you have to worry about the couples who don't have any children, or the grandparents, or the senior citizens on a fixed income. What we need to remember is that what goes on in a school building or in a school district affects every one of those people. It's not just the family with children that get affected by what happens in the school system. It's the family without children that gets affected. Because those children that are going through the system, those children that are being educated and being prepared for tomorrow, those are the ones that are going to be our future leaders. They're going to be the doctors, the nurses, the lawyers, the mechanics, the plumbers, the carpenters. Everything that happens because of them. They're the ones, there's that old saying, be nice to your children, they choose your nursing home. We'd like to make sure they're educated so they can make a good choice when they do that. But I want to offer you one more, because Dr. Andre had already talked to you about priorities, and I agree with him. But I know that one of the focuses you'll have when you leave this meeting is a tax rate, and people telling you they can't afford to pay taxes. Well, you already know the state believes that the two communities can, so I want to talk about a business. I want to just do it briefly, because we have a lot of successful businesses in our community. And one of them that's going through growing pains right now is Dunkin' Donuts. The members of the Bristol Town Council know it because there are Bristol bodies and boards that are overseeing this. Well, you get a business like Dunkin' Donuts, and I'm pretty sure that before they spend their money, they do their due diligence to make sure that whatever they're going to invest in is going to have a good return. Something that our superintendent does with every dollar he spends in the school district. What's the return on investment? Well, what I'm looking at, and that's going on locally, is there's a Dunkin' Donuts business that wants to open and build a whole new building. And the real difference between the existing Dunkin' Donuts and the new one will simply be a drive-thru. Now, think about the expense. This business owner has architects, engineers, designers. He's got attorneys. He's got whatever he has to do to worry about putting up this building, and is probably going to spend upwards of $1 million or more just so he can have a drive-thru at a business that already exists. In order for him to do that, he's got to believe that the community around him can support a return on investment to return that money to him. And that's not a business that only deals with families with children. It's a business that deals with families of all types in our community, whether they're on welfare or whether they're retired and on a fixed income. Most of this population goes and visits the coffee shops. So a business that has been successful believes the community can support it. I'm asking you to view this community in the same fashion. If it requires a tax increase, make sure it's not too much. Adjust your priorities on the municipal side so that we can give the investment and get that return in the future. That's really all we're asking for, is to make sure that you consider this for what it gives back to the community, what it gives back to everyone that's here. So I want to, again, thank you for your time, and I won't keep going. As you know, or maybe you don't, I have a passion for this, not for being in front of you, but for the kids. I've been in my seat many years. I've watched my children go through this system. I still have one left, so you're stuck with me for a little while longer, because I'm going to do whatever I can do to make sure that that child gets a very good education, and I believe in public education. Please believe in it and support it too. Thank you.
Mr. Silva, being one of the only members of this committee who can actually answer your question of what would you do if you needed to address an increase. I was on the council, not a member of this committee, when the request came to the council. We cut $1.6 million out of our budget. We raised taxes over a 2-year period to 9%. And going forward, we made the adjustments that needed to be done so that we could maintain our priorities. So it's not a hypothetical question, it's a real reality that I've sat through, the people of Warren have participated in, and we take our roles here responsibly and seriously, and we do support the education system.
If there's no more discussion before adjournment, I'd just like to congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, Councilman Andrew Tiska, but also to thank past Chairman Di Pasquale for leading this Joint Finance Committee. And if there is no discussion, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second. No. Second.
Just a little bit of discussion on that, if I may. Thank you for that, Councilman Stewart. Last year, I attended both Joint Finance Committee meetings in the audience, so it's an absolute honor and soon to be pleasure to serve on this committee, so thank you for that. I do believe that the success of our youth in education, the success of our youth in their careers, and the success of our youth in life is and should be our number one priority. I do want to comment that there was one future success that was omitted, and that's of our Mount Hope Husky hockey team, hopefully on Saturday.
Yes.
So, that success is imminent. I also want to thank Ryder Ferris for sticking it out and helping us out. And that's the end of the discussion. So with that, any other discussion?
There was a motion and a second, so.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.